Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the penultimate group preview from the main event. Here with me, Daniel.
And Aaron.
Aaron Manelli there. We had a long time. We've had a dress change.
It was needed.
It was needed. It's very hot in here. But also, just after all those podcasts, I don't know why I'm still holding my breasts. I might just do the rest of it like this.
Please do.
Yeah. Is it making you feel uncomfortable at all?
No, it actually makes me feel relaxed.
No, I'm not going to do it then.
No.
Well played. Reverse psychology. Thank you if you have watched all of the previous podcasts with us. I appreciate you're probably bored to death of listening to Aaron by now, but we endeavour.
I wish it was a joke.
Before we get started, as ever, please don't forget to follow us on Twitter at UCL Fantasy Pod. Also, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe to GallowgateShots as well as the main event. Please. And once again, thank you to those lads, Chris especially, for letting us use, and Scott for helping us with some of the editing as well. But let's move swiftly on into these groups, Aaron. So we have Group C. Real Madrid, Napoli, Braga, in Union Berlin. I'll be a gentleman. Where would you like to start? What game do you want to start with? Napoli versus Braga or Real Madrid at home to Union Berlin?
I think Real Madrid are going to be the team.
Okay, so let's start with Napoli versus Braga then.
Yeah, well, let's not. Real Madrid, I think, have the highest owns players. So that's why I think they'd be a good place to start. Let's address it. First of all, we all have Bellingham in our teams.
Yes.
So we're not going to say get Bellingham in your team.
Other than now.
You already do.
Yes. It's clear to see why. He has 5 goals in 4 games and an assist. And he's been scoring for England.
Player of the match.
Yeah, he gets player of the match all the time. He's class.
72% owned.
7.5 million. It's a bit of a joke. I've got no idea how he's only 7.5 million. They've not factored in that he plays for Real Madrid.
Well, I was thinking about it. Isn't like Modric and Kroos, they've been more like 8 million and stuff like that. Yes. So it's actually crazy that he is this little. Even in the group stage last year, Bellingham's, I think, got an attack and return every match.
4 games in a row, he got goals.
So, yeah, he's really, really a good player.
That's a hot take, Aaron. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to hang your neck out?
I saw, interestingly, a debate about, in terms of Bellingham, about how he ranks in terms of youngsters and his potential. Right. And someone said, I think we all know this Twitter account, and they're a bit of a troll, but they said that Bellingham will be the potential that Pogba never was. Basically meaning that Pogba showed the similar potential to Bellingham when he was the same age, but Bellingham will actually go on to live his potential.
It's hard to agree or disagree because I cannot remember how Paul. Surely
played,
not.
That's his Juventus days, wasn't it?
Yeah, like surely Pogba was in his early to mid 20s, early 20s when he's at Juventus. He wasn't 19 when he was doing all these things.
17, I would still say Bellingham's a better player than Pogba.
Yeah, 17, 18, 19, and he's doing prime Pogba things. So yeah, I'd say that's a bit of nonsense personally. But yeah,
it's the troll account. But anyways, in terms of everybody else, I think Vinicius Jr. needs to get out of people's teams. He's currently still 22%. So get him out of your team if you currently have him, because the app won't update until the day of with the injuries. Maybe over the weekend. They're probably waiting for the weekend fixtures. It's normally the Monday where they update with that kind of stuff. And in terms of Rodrigo, 9 million forward, 7% owned, again, highly owned. Valverde, 12% owned. The Real Madrid players are quite highly owned, but that's just probably due to their fan base. And
I think it's a popular and well-established tactic to just go for good players from good teams, and Real Madrid are a good team. Historically, they do tend to get off a little slowly. They can do. They tend to be a team that builds up, and they're usually beastly in the knockout stage as opposed to the group stages. If we go through their team from back to front, because I actually think they've got some traps in here, but some little gems
Lots of
as well.
injuries, which are still highly owned.
Well, yeah. So in terms,
Courtois.
yes, exactly. Courtois injured, probably for the season. Militao's injured, probably for the season. Arda Güler's just had surgery. Vinicius Junior's injured, I think, just for the first game. But then they've got Napoli for the second, so you're probably not going to want to bring him in until 3 or 4. Mendy is back mid-September, so I kind of want to start here before we go into some of the transfers in or out, whatever like that. Fran Garcia, left back, starting left back for Real Madrid, 4.5 million. So I can see the appeal of why people have gone for him. I personally think you shouldn't. Because he's not very good. He is young, and it's not to say that he won't get better. And I think they only signed him this season, actually, if I'm not mistaken. But he's not really tearing up any trees when he's been playing there. It doesn't really look like he's going to get any attacking returns. And Real Madrid, last 4 games, have kept 2 clean sheets, but they have conceded in 2 games. And with the likes of Militao out, it does make that defense a little bit worse. Obviously, Rudiger comes in next to Alaba, so it's not terrible. But come mid-September, Mendy's back. So this is really literally a 1-game punt. If you want wild carding in 3, you won't have a problem. Or if you're not I suppose if you're not using a chip in match day 2, you won't have a problem. But you're going to have to take him out. So I probably wouldn't go there, even if he is 4.5 million, because I don't actually fancy Real Madrid to keep a clean sheet in this game. We'll get on to Union Berlin shortly. But Real Madrid do tend to concede the odd little goal. We've seen them have a couple of banana skins in the Champions League, and they just aren't the sheer thing at the beginning of the tournament like they are towards the end. That being said, Kepa's now the goalkeeper. He's pretty cheap in the game. I think he's 5 million, is he? So he's a bit more budget. Wednesday keeper, though, I still don't think I'd go there.
15% owned, Kepa.
I've seen that, and I still don't understand why. Carvajal, Rudiger, Alaba, I'd say all better choices because all of them can get attacking returns. Alaba will probably take free kicks. Rudiger is quality in terms of long ball assists and being a threat from corners. Carvajal can get assists because he's a very attacking right back. So I'll probably try and edge my bets on getting attacking returns from one of those 3 defenders. Of those 3 defenders, Alaba and Carvajal both have an assist this season, so I'll probably go for one of them. Price dependent. Their midfield is largely been Tchouaméni and Camavinga with Fede Valverde playing. However, Modric has came in for a couple of games, and so has Toni Kroos. So there is a little bit of rotation, but Tchouaméni's been the one to stay there the entire time. He's a holding midfielder. It's 5.5 million. I actually think he could be a good shout at that price point because I do think you'll get ball recoveries for Real Madrid, especially with like an age and Kroos or maybe Valverde pushing forward because he's a bit more attacking Valverde, or in an aging sort of, like I said, Modric, the slow Kroos. You're going to have these types of players that I just think is really going to suit Tchouaméni. Now, that being said, Camavinga has been playing there as well, and he's a very defensive-minded number 8, essentially. He can play as a holding midfielder. He can play at left back. He's very versatile, but his best position is picking up the ball and running 30, 40 yards with it using his long legs and his pace. So he could be good in transitions as well, but I think for the price, Tchouaméni's looking a little bit better. You've already hinted at Vinicius Junior being injured, which is why you don't want to go for him. Which leaves the door open for Joselu. Rodrigo's not been playing very well. He's got 1 goal and 4, so I wouldn't go for him for his price. But Joselu, 7.5 million, and he scored in his last game. He got an assist off the bench in the game before, and I think he scored for Spain last night or the night before, whatever it was. So, Aaron, other than Bellingham, are you going for anyone from Real Madrid? Any traps? Anyone that's teasing you?
Tchouaméni was, because for some reason Real Madrid defensive midfielders always historically got the most ball recovery points. The only issue was last season where they didn't have a solid midfield 3. But the midfield of Real Madrid still picked up the most points because Vinicius Junior finished with the most points. Back when he was a midfielder. So there are points in the Madrid midfield, and that's always been the case. So I was looking at potentially a double up for Bellingham and Tchouaméni, but that again, I think it's just more so his price point.
I think for me, a good double up is going to be Bellingham and either Vinny when he's back or Joselu. So he's going to start when you get that 3 and 4 at Braga. I think Real Madrid could struggle a little bit against Union Berlin, a little bit, but I think they will struggle away to Napoli because of the injuries. And because of that, I think it's going to be a fairly competitive group throughout. So I think Real Madrid will actually be quite good for 3 and 4. Sometimes you can see teams rotate by 4. Like if Man City have won their first 3 games, they'll probably rotate for the 4th because they've just got to get one more win out of 3 games, which Pep knows they can do. So I don't think Real Madrid are going to be in that position, which means that the more that this competition goes on, the more that we're going to learn. And I still think there'll be viable picks for any match day 3 wild carders for that double up to Braga. So I think that's when we really need to look at them, other than Bellingham, which I've already said. Just for some quick transfers ins and out. Obviously, the brought in Bellingham, Arda who's injured, Joselu, Fran Garcia, and Kepa. Transfers out. Odriozola, the right back, is finally gone. Benzema's gone to Saudi. Asensio's gone to PSG. And Eden Hazard is now a free agent. Not that he would ever have been an option anyway, because he likes donuts too much. Union Berlin? Have you seen much of them play? You know much about them?
Other than, I kept my eye on the results last season in Bundesliga just because they were top of the table for so long. And I was like, is there going to be an upset in the title race? There almost was. Last day still hurts. But Union Berlin, I think I've not seen much of them play, but just from what I have seen, from results wise and the type of player that they have, we can't write them off.
Don't disagree. I think one of their issues is going to be against big teams. I don't think they've got a great record, but any other game, they do just seem to batter teams. They like to score goals. They played 3 games this season. They've won 4-1 twice and lost 3-0. But that 3-0 loss, importantly, was to Leipzig, which is a Champions League quality team. I think that's a little concerning. They have brought in quite a few new players. Robin Gosens, the legend. We'll talk about him very shortly. Later, Kevin Volland came over from France. Toussaint, Brendan Aronson from Leeds, and Fofana, David Datro Fofana from Chelsea. So I don't know really how effective Fofana is going to be. I still think he's too young. He has played all 3 games this season and he's not played well. Brendan Aronson has played, I think, 2 to 3 games. He got dropped for the last one. Didn't play well, even though they won 4-1 in both games. So you're not really going to go for some of those players that you know in that sort of area. I think where we'll be looking is maybe the striker, Behrens, has got 4 goals, 7.5 million, so he joins the 7.5 million club. Leduni, 2 assists in 3 games, and he's a 5 million midfielder. So I think as far as budget options go, he could be a really good pick. So I think in a midfield like Union Berlin, they play a flat 3 or a 2, depending on whether they're playing wing backs or not. So they've sort of changed, chopped and changed, especially with Robin Gosens coming in. I think he could be a good pick because of the ball recoveries, as well as getting some assist potential. Beyond that, I think just in case anyone's wondering who plays for them in terms of, I want this player, or that you're going to get minutes. Renov is the goalkeeper. Dwecki, Notch, Late are the centre-backs generally. Get this one out. Juranovic is the right wing-back. Gosens is the left wing-back. Juranovic has 2 assists in his 3 games. Gosens has 2 goals in his 2 games, taken over from Roussillon, who is a former little legend as well in this game. He used to be 4 million left back in the day. Is there anyone from this team that's taking your fancy at all? I imagine Robin Gosens is teasing you a little bit.
Of course he is. He always does. The little
minx. German minx.
I think the late arrival though of Bonucci is interesting in the transfer window. I think like it'll be interesting to see the impact that I don't think he'll play, especially because I think he's nursing a little bit of an injury at the moment. But I think training wise, you'll the fact that the other centre backs are training with him automatically makes them better.
Yeah.
I think you can kind of see that with Chelsea when Thiago Silva arrived. Like the other centre backs just became better.
Yeah.
Just that type of influence of defender. So he's someone who I'm like interested in just to kind of see how he's doing, and the fact that he's suing Juventus.
Yeah. For what is it not giving him enough media training or something?
I think you're going to get all sorts of stories in terms of why he's
Is
suing
he trying
them.
to blame Juventus for him blaming
It's
Lukaku for getting racially abused?
I think it's his perception in the media but I think there's some of that, but also in terms of when he switched to AC Milan.
Okay. I don't understand how you can sue Juventus for any of this, but
it was just, I don't know. It just all seems a mess.
Wild Bonucci. He's a very odd man that lives on the edge. I wouldn't like to get on the wrong side of him, but he's strange. I'll never forget his comments about Romelu Lukaku. Anyone wants to Google Bonucci's comments about no, it wasn't Romelu Lukaku, it was Moise Kean, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was
sorry, Moise Kean.
He brought it on himself.
He brought it on himself for celebrating a penalty.
And then getting racially abused from it.
He got racially abused, and it was all Keane's. He should have missed the pen, clearly. But yeah, we've painted a great picture of Bonucci. Don't sue us, please. Any of the wing backs taking your fancy? Juranovic, Gosens?
Gosens, there's that attachment there. So, yeah, he's been in a few of my drafts.
Is he 5.5 million?
5.
He's only 5 million?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was 5.5. That's interesting.
I think the interesting thing is that he hasn't made it across to the team yet. So I don't think a lot of people actually know that he's
still at Inter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want Robin Gosens, currently he's at Inter Milan on the game. How do we think that Union Berlin are going to get on against Real Madrid?
I think in the first match they'll struggle, but when it comes back to Germany, I think they'll give them a good game.
I think they'll do all right. I think they'll come out the traps. I still think Real Madrid will win the game, but I think they'll get a goal. I think we'll go into predictions. I'll start on this one. I've been letting you go first far too many times. Because I think Real Madrid will win this 2-1, but I do think that Union Berlin will get a goal. Real Madrid are really quite hampered by injury, and some of the players aren't playing very well. And I can imagine Jude Bellingham scoring a goal in the 80-plus minute again, like he has done 2 or 3 times already this season.
Yeah. I would say when I say they're going to struggle, not like some of these other teams, not like another, I think it'll be very close. So just to be different to you, I'll say 1-1.
They're going to struggle and only draw away at Real Madrid.
Just to be different.
Fair enough.
But I do agree with 2-1.
you can just say the same thing. It's
okay. I tried. The other game, I'll start with Napoli. A lot of the kind of fear was, are they going to be the same team? Obviously, with the coaching change. The good news is that they are so far. In the fact that they lose to Lazio.
Yes.
But also, just in terms of the attacking style of play, I think the best... I mean, I don't know if you've seen the stats about Kvaratskhelia about him not scoring in like over 150 days and stuff like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that stat, but it doesn't surprise me at all. He's not looked the same
They
player
have
since
had the
World
summer
Cup.
off as well.
Yeah, they have. They have had a summer off. Did
But
they not? Did they include the summer? Did they include the summer?
yeah, they said it's been 150 days
That's
since.
hilarious. He's been injured as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Wild.
But also teams know that they need to double up on him now.
Yeah.
So he's going to command more attention. But Osimhen is their talisman. Like, he is unbelievable. He scored in, I think, other than against Lazio, I think he scored in every game. Scored 2 in the first game as well. Unbelievable goal. One of them was a penalty, I believe.
In that second game, he scored a pen. So you got 2 open players in the first and a pen,
which is
in the
good
second.
that Kvaratskhelia is not on penalties.
Yeah, he's absolutely dreadful at them. It's about time he's been taken off them.
But I think the biggest catch among all the team is Di Lorenzo, 5.5 in the game, starting against Braga. I think he is a great shout. He scored. He is a very good player in terms of fantasy, because in the Italian fantasy game, he was the most expensive defender, and he is also the highest scoring player because they also get ball recoveries in that game as well.
I really like his hair. I try to model it my own slightly off Di Lorenzo, so thank you for that. Again, for anyone that doesn't really know how to play, it's a 4-3-3 essentially, with Merry as the goalkeeper, Di Lorenzo as the right back, Oliveira as the left back. This year, it's Rahmani and Jesus as the centre backs. Now that Kim's gone, because Kim has been sold to Bayern Munich. Ongisa has been the centre mid. He's a bit more holding, but he does sort of let loose a couple of times during the match. Lobotka and Zielinski have been playing alongside him. Politano's the right winger. Bizarrely, Raspadori's been the left winger, even though he is a striker. But I think that's been predominantly because of Kvaratskhelia injury. Then Osimhen's the striker. Just to let you know who's playing where. And we'll go through some price points. You've already said Di Lorenzo at 5 million. 5 million, yeah?
5.5.
5.5 million. He's in my team. He will not go anywhere. He is a joke of a player. He has 2 assists and a goal already from right back this season. Not going anywhere.
And loads of ball recoveries.
And if you had to skimp, you could go Jesus at 4.5 million. I personally wouldn't. I'd just stretch that 0.5, get rid of someone else. But if you had to, or if you want to double up, Jesus is probably the next best, just because he's cheaper than Rahmani. Then I think they're much of a muchness in terms of fantasy points. Like, Rahmani's not really getting anything else. As far as that midfield goes, you've got like someone at every price point. So you've got Lobotka at 5.5, Ongisa at 6, and Zielinski at 7.5. Now, if Zielinski's on the pitch, he might take the odd pen away from Osimhen. Zielinski has 1 goal in his 3 games. Ongisa hasn't got any. Lobotka hasn't got any. So I think you're looking at paying that premium for Zielinski's goals. Although Ongisa did quite well last season in the Champions League goals-wise and assist-wise. If you had to go for one of those 3, who would you be going for with the price point in mind?
With the price point in mind, knowing that you probably have Bellingham and all the other highly selected players, Lobotka over Anguissa, I would say, because Lobotka is the type of player who has more of a control on a game, where he will pick the ball up and, despite pressure, can free up space. Kind of where even though they'll be getting pressured, it looks like they have all the time in the world. He's very good on the ball, kind of knits everything together. I think that 0.5 difference between the two is justified in terms of Anguissa is probably going to break up a lot more of the players. Lobotka is going to be the one who is passed to after the ball recovery, just to get Napoli out of pressure. But I think with I don't think he is I think he will still get lots of ball recoveries and potentially with just that type of player, they always get like player of the match.
He has a question for you. Politano, 7 million, right wing.
Is he a forward?
I thought he was a midfielder on the game. Double check. Aaron will fact check me, but I thought he was a midfielder on the game, unless I've just misread it.
Every other winger is a striker, so.
Well, Kvaratskhelia has a midfielder on
it. Just checking for you. He's a forward.
Oh my goodness me! Right, so he's out. Politano's out. I suppose money-wise, then you can only afford. I personally think you can only afford Kvaratskhelia or Osimhen. I don't see how you can afford a double up when you've got the other premium forwards in there, and then other premium players elsewhere. Which one do you go for?
Osimhen. They're both. Osimhen is 10% owned. Kvaratskhelia is 11% owned.
Wow, 9.5 million. I think he's criminally overpriced.
I think it's because there's not many other midfielder options at that price point. There's not many premium midfielders.
How is he 9.5 million and Jude Bellingham 7.5?
Wasn't the prices done like way early though?
Yeah, but still, like, Jude Bellingham. Played better than Kvaratskhelia last year. I know that Kvaratskhelia is a very, very
at his best. If he was still performing at his best, that is underpriced. Like if he performs as he does in the Italian league.
Yeah, but that's the Italian league, not the Champions League.
And yeah, I'm just saying that that's what it's priced off.
What, off the Italian league?
Yeah, this isn't off Champions League.
It must be off the Champions League. And maybe the Premier League. That's probably what they think that he's going to be.
Technically, he won Young Player of the tournament last year.
Yeah, what, for the Champions League?
Yeah.
So subjective. He did not have a good knockouts, did he?
Yeah, it was only the group stage, really.
He had a good group stage.
And he made Trent look amateurish. But
we're not talking about real-life players. As a real-life player, he's class. But like as a fantasy option...
Oh, right,
that misses penalties quite regularly.
In the Champions League, yeah.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. I'm not having to go to him as a player. It's a bit like Bruno Fernandes, who said was overpriced at 9.5 million. I think Bruno Fernandes is a fantastic footballer. But do I want to pay 9.5? Do I want to pay borderline 10%, 9.5% of my entire budget on Kvaratskhelia? Do I think he's worth that? I just don't think he is. Last year, he was, 5.5 or something ridiculous? He's obviously worth way more than that. But I think he should be whatever price Jude Bellingham is. And I think he's underpriced. I think they should both probably be about 8.5. That's where I'd plant them. And then at least gives people a bit more of a choice. But because of that price, when he's probably not going to be on penalties anymore, I don't think I could justify that. Yeah. He'll probably get a hat-trick against Braga, but I think Osimhen as well is the better pick. I just think he gets more goals. If for 0.5 extra, I think Osimhen's worth the little bump. And if he is on pens as well, that just boosts him up even more. He's class Osimhen. He's one of the elite 6 strikers on this game. So he's in my team. Have you got any of these in your team already?
Osimhen, Di Lorenzo.
Same, exactly the same. We'll move on to Braga. For anyone, just real quick as well, Napoli have brought in Lindstrom, who's an attacking midfielder. He's come from Germany. Kujust, who's came from Midtjylland. I think that's where he's came from. Holding midfielder. Kim's gone to Bayern Munich, and Lozano's back to PSV, as were mentioned in the PSV group podcast as well. They've won 3-1. 2-0, and then lost the last game 2-1 at home to Lazio. So move on to Braga. Braga have had a bit of a mixed start, although not an easy one. They did lose the first game of the season 2-1. They then won the second game 4-2, and then they had a 1-1 draw with Sporting Lisbon. So I think if we'll look at them being on the same level as Sporting, a Sporting team that have been dipping quite a lot over the last sort of couple of years. They were on a downward trajectory from last year. They've since lost more players. Obviously, they lost Palinha a couple of years ago to Fulham. That really hurt them. They've since lost Pedro Porro. So I think if we look at Braga, I'd probably being on about Sporting's level, but the bad version of Sporting's level. I think we've got cause for concern with them in the group. Do you feel any different? Do you see anything that's different to that?
No, I would agree with that. I think Braga, with Portuguese teams, it's always hard to play in Portugal. They're quite good at creating like good atmospheres, but I think they are the weakest team in this group.
In terms of assets, I think Niakite as a centre back is 4.5 million, and Gomez, the right back, is also 4.5 million. So if you wanted to punish yourself, you could go for one of those two. They don't have like any, again, talismanic figures. Everyone's sort of just chipping in with the odd goal or the odd assist. No one's really laying down a claim to actually be their point scorer. You could have Al-Musrati or Carvalho or Horta. So there are 3 holding midfielders if you are looking for ball recovery points. I'll probably go Carvalho because he's the most nailed. Horta and Al-Musrati have been sort of exchanging minutes between them, whereas Carvalho's played all 3 games. That would be my only suggestion for Braga. I think beyond that, we can probably Plezenia them because I think Berlin are really good. Like, I think the German league is just better than the Portuguese league. As good as the Portuguese league is actually has been getting, I think it's overtaken France.
Yeah.
As far as coefficients go, which is why they're allowed 3 teams in now. So it's not like it's a poor league by any stretch of the imagination. I just think the German league is a notch up. I think UEFA recognised the German league being a bit better. I can't remember what the scores were last year between Frankfurt and Sporting Lisbon, though, but I don't think it went well for Sporting Lisbon.
Well, Sporting just had a really bad tournament.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to like sort of, because with Braga, I'll be honest, I didn't watch them much last year because you just focus on the 3 big teams. If you want to watch Portuguese football, you focus on those because that's likely who we're going to have to talk about. So they sort of caught me by surprise, and it's really difficult to have like an actual full-on opinion of them. So it's just me trying to gauge with Sporting based on the previous results that they've had with each other.
Yeah.
Which is why I'd be worried about them. What do you think the score is going to be for that game? I'm sorry, Braga fans or Portuguese fans that can't say more. Feel free to comment. Anyone with any useful information about Braga, comment.
In terms of the scoreline, I think the fact that it is in Portugal gives them a little bit of advantage. But I do think Napoli are too strong. I think it'll be 3-1.
I think it'll be 3-0. Going to go clean sheet.
Di Lorenzo clean sheet.
Di Lorenzo clean sheet.
I have him scoring a hat-trick, so...
Di Lorenzo scored a hat-trick. A hat-trick of headers with his gorgeous hair. Lovely curly locks. It'll bounce right off. Like springs on the front of his head. You could grow your hair like that, Aaron?
No, I can't.
You can. Just stop getting like a 1 all over. You'll be fine. Just get a bit of a fade going. Grow it on top. You'll have some lovely curly Di Lorenzo locks.
On that note,
thanks everyone for listening. We will have one more group to go, Group D, where hopefully we're feeling slightly less delirious in all the excitement of it being our last preview podcast. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to us. We are the main event. Also, don't forget to subscribe to, as Aaron points, the GallowgateShots podcast as well. We're on Twitter at UCL Fantasy Pod, and we will see you for the next one. Bye now.